Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. I have the privilege of the company of Venus Upadhayaya, and she is today in Ladakh. And to know a little bit more about the place she is in, the environment, we are absolutely trying to catch the light as it fades. So I'm going to give the control over to Venus. Venus, welcome to PGurus channel, and tell us a little bit about where you are and how long have you been there?
Hi, Sree. It's great to be here. I'm in Leh right now, and I'm in a very, very important place. And I'm right now at the base of the Leh Palace. So, right to my left is the Leh Palace. And behind me, which is the north of Leh, is the Khardungla Pass. So, it's from the Khardungla Pass actually that you go to Nubra, you go to Siachen Glacier, as well as, you go to Gilgit Baltistan. And right in front of me, as I'm standing here, is the southeast of Leh, which is, the passes which lead to actually Tibet and China. And to my right is the southwest of Leh, which leads to Srinagar.
So you're at
actually, I'm at the center. I'm standing at a place which was the base of the Silk Route. I'm actually standing at a very, very historical spot.
That's wonderful to know. Now, I suppose you've been there for some time now. And how's the weather right now? I know you're kind of quite warmly clothed. Just curious.
Yeah, I arrived here on 4th of October, to report for the Epoch Times. I am, reporting on the India-China issue, as you know, the border tensions. But more than that, we wanted to, as in the Epoch Times, we wanted to have a feel of what's happening, with the people and, what other people facing. So we wanted to have a reality check on the ground, and that's why I'm here. It took me some time to acclimatize. Actually, it's very high altitude. Leh is about 13,000 feet, and the border areas are about 17,000 feet, which are border area that like Galgwan, where the actual tension happened. That is over 120 miles from here, and that's 17,000 feet. It was difficult to breathe in the initial days. Like I arrived straight from Washington, D.C., and I never expected that, if I would walk a little, that I would start to pant. So it took me some time to acclimatize. It's a bit cold. Yes, you're right. But in a few weeks, it's going to be extremely cold. So December and January are the coldest months here. Temperature in winters goes to about minus 30 degrees Celsius. And it's important to understand that this is the leeward side of the Himalayas. So if the Himalayas act as a great wall between the Indian subcontinent and the Tibetan plateau, it's the Himalayas which don't allow the monsoon winds to pass over. So Leh Ladakh, it falls on the leeward side of the Himalayas. That's why it's a dry desert, also called, the moonland. If you see behind me, I don't know if you can see
Yes, I can.
you see the mountains. They're very rugged, very dry.
Yes, I see that. Yeah.
So it's a different reality. It's at times it feels like it's a different world.
Yes, indeed. And I've experienced the altitude of 14,000 feet. When I was a student in Colorado, there are peaks there in Colorado, which are about 14,000 feet. And if you want to do hiking, you have to really train for about a month before you can get acclimatized to, being able to trek up to that altitude. And we used to do it without oxygen masks and all that stuff. I'm talking about 35 plus years ago. So I know how it feels. Every breath seems like
Yeah, but
an
we
effort.
need to remember that this is a dry desert.
Right.
So dry desert, the amount of humidity is very less. So it's very dry. You feel it. You
Mm,
feel it on your skin. If you don't take precautions, you can have severe nose bleeding,
right.
things like that. So it takes time to acclimatize. Yes.
So
Even
so
people
you.
who go from the town outside, when you come back, it's like for 24 hours, you need to completely relax.
Mm,
That's the way
mm.
it's here.
Wow, that's great. Now, what is the local population thinking about the recent conflict that has started at the borders of Ladakh. I mean, north of where you are.
Since I have come, I have talked to lots of people, and obviously, people are concerned because this has been a very peaceful town. We have heard a lots about Kashmir and things happening in Kashmir. It's always been in the news, but Ladakh was mostly known to tourists, people who love mountain, who love to climb mountains and glaciers, and people who just used to come to Leh for tourism or for Buddhism. You know, this was not a town which was known for war or conflict. So locals are actually concerned about Ladakh becoming a global issue. That's the main concern, and how it directly impacts their life, their sensibility, their culture, their traditions. How it threatens the cultural ecosystem they have. That's the main concern.
Well, the Indian government certainly has been mobilizing a lot of resources, and appears like they are trying to keep Srinagar as the base camp. How long does it take to go from Srinagar to Leh by road?
Srinagar to Leh is about 12 hours
Mm.
because from Leh to Kargil is 6 hours, and from Kargil to Srinagar it's another 6 hours. But we need to remember that the northern command of the Indian Army is in Udhampur, so why they
That's
might
further
be
south.
traveling
Yeah, yeah,
why they might be traveling from Srinagar is just because from Udhampur, so if you are on the national highway, you travel from Jammu to Udhampur, and then from Udhampur to Srinagar, and then from Srinagar to Kargil, and then from Kargil to Leh.
right, right. Yeah, I've been down that route a couple of times. Udhampur is still on the other side of the Kashmir Valley, and it's almost the last thing. And then you start climbing up. You have the Ko Batot and all that stuff, Kud Batot, and then Ramban, and then you start going to the valley inside, 15,000 feet there. I've actually spent one night there, and it's a very memorable thing. Now, there is talk now. Finally, India is finding out that there has been a special force of Tibetan origin, Tibetan Special Frontier Force. These people are that this force is also now coming into the fore. Have you met any of the officers of the Tibetan SFF?
Yes, you see, Tibetan, the Special Frontier Force is not a new force. It was established in November 1962 after the 1962 India China War. And it has been a covert force, but it has. Participated in some very important operations, including the Bangladesh liberation war that happened, in which about 3,000 of them were paratroopers of the SSF were pushed into the Bangladesh, territory. Um, Today, SSF, or it is also called the Vikas Regiment, um, yes, is one of the major regiments deployed on the border. After the Galwan incident has happened, um, I couldn't meet army officials because it's very sensitive. Most of them are engaged, and then you need to go through the defense ministry in New Delhi to be able to talk to any army official. However, I visited the family of Nema Tenzin, the SSF Vikas Regiment soldier who was martyred on August 29 on the border. He lost his life to a Chinese landmine. Um, he actually is the one who captured a very important mountain top, which is called the Black Top, which India lost to China in 1962 war. It's it's a strategic mountain top. So he was. His family told me that he was someone who played a very important role in capturing the top. And after capturing the top, he was going for patrolling from there to another location when he lost his life in a Chinese landmine. So I visited his place and met his mourning family, which still observing 49 days of prayers and mourning. I met his wife, his mom, his three children.
It's a sad when a soldier lays down his life for the country. It's always a sad moment. And overall, what is your feel on where the line of actual control is? Do you think, in your opinion, that India has recovered at least some of the lost property since April of this year, or is it even more than that? What is your perception of the gains by India?
See, the border here is at least 120 miles from here. And I tried to, I had plans to go to the Pongong Lake, which was one of the main areas of the
Yes,
conflict.
yes, eight
But
fingers, yeah.
yeah, in normal times, generally the local government, the local authorities here in Leh, they issue permits for people to travel, and it's pretty easy. You can apply it through tourist agencies and through uh, you know taxis operating and flying on the route. But this year permits are not being given because it's very sensitive. So about 40 miles from Leh, uh, that's the point till where you can go if you want to go to the Pongong Lake. And that's a checkpoint. Beyond that, nobody except for the army is allowed to go as of now.
So how's the state of the tourism industry now that summer is coming to an end? Was there much tourism? Was tourism affected because this conflict started in April?
Yeah, I think before that, I will answer your question. What you asked me about my perception about what's happening at the border, whether
Hmm.
we have gained territory, whether we have lost territory. There are all kind of news reports which are about what's the army PRO or the various media sources are gathering. Like today, there is a news in Indian Express that says that and it's an anonymous source in the army, and it says that India also crossed the LSC and entered the Chinese territories into like 6 to 7 points. And then it said that, do you think we would be able to negotiate if we wouldn't have done that? So obviously, if the Chinese are sitting on the Pongong Lake inside the LSC, on the Indian territory, then Indians have also stepped across the LSC and entered into the Chinese territory, because we need to understand that Leh is an important military theater. It's a very strategic place in the geopolitics right now. As I was telling you earlier, also just behind me is the is an important pass from where you can go to the Siachen Glacier, you can go to Nubra, and you can go to Gilgit-Baltistan. Now, Gilgit-Baltistan is a major region of the integrated Jammu and Kashmir under Pakistan right now, through which China is building the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project. So when I talk about these passes, which are highly militarized right now, I'm just trying to help you understand the strategic location of where I am right now. When I say a pass behind me, I don't say that it's just 4 or 5 or 10 miles away. It's actually very, very far away, right where I'm pointing right now. If you can see
Yes,
those, yeah, you can see
peaks.
that
Right, right,
road.
right.
Yeah. So it's it's a very, very important place. And so they say the Chinese have stationed deployed about 60,000 troops, and they say India has also deployed about 40 to 50,000 troops. So why is that deployment happening? Why so many negotiations are happening? It's because it's a theater. It's a strategic location in the global politics, which China is trying to utilize for a lot of other things, and not just for gaining the immediate territory, but for pressurizing India, or for trying to impact the global politics in many ways, or for securing its interests in regions right across. We need to also understand that Ladakh is a region which shares borders both with Tibet as well as Xinjiang. So, Ladakh as a theater shares borders with two of the most sensitive areas of today's China.
Yes, indeed, and we have done a fair amount of coverage on Gilgit-Baltistan and the Chinese colonization that has happened over the time. Um, it's Now I'm sure things are going to cool down a little bit, not because either side wants it to be cooled down, but because the nature is going to start weighing in. What happens in Leh during the winter months as fall sets in and then we go into December, January? Does the town go to sleep, in terms of literally, not literally, but metaphorically?
The cost of living increases manifold. You know, it's still not a place where you have the home heating system like they exist in Europe or in US or in Canada. People still depend on those old Bukharis which run on kerosene, and kerosene is extremely expensive. So when I talk to locals, I hear that okay, the cost of living is going to be very high. We also need to understand that this year we just not are having the Indo-China tensions on the Ladakh border, but we also had coronavirus, right? So the tourism in the town is not only impacted by the conflict, but the tourism is actually infected by the coronavirus. So so what has happened is a lot of locals, like, they have winter bases, winter homes elsewhere. It's cheaper, and it's, in terms of climate, better to live elsewhere. It's very cold. Imagine, like, minus 30 degrees Celsius, in this kind of high and dry altitude. But this year people are not able to travel because of coronavirus.
Yeah, that
So
it's
people
more
are
more
people
kind.
are
Yeah, yeah.
people are preparing, for the winters. Just to give you a little example, things that are here is, like, people have to drain out all their water systems, like the terrace top water systems, because if you don't do, even if there is a little water or drop of water, the pipes are going to burst as the temperature, goes down. Birds, like, there's a beautiful bird here. There are no crows here. There are only sparrows and another bird that I see called the magpie, a beautiful bird, and it just falls down sometimes. Its wings just freeze. Um, and what else have I heard? Yeah, I mean, the entire lifestyle changes. So people go on minimizing water. In fact, the traditional lifestyle in Leh and Ladakh was actually not based on a lot of consumption of water, as water is consumed elsewhere in the world. Water is a very
Precious.
precious
Yeah.
commodity, very precious commodity in Leh. So yes, this is a special winters, with India-China border tensions, and October 25th is the anniversary of the 1962 war. So we need to keep our fingers crossed and watch what's going to happen. Um, we also need to see how the coronavirus situation unfolds. Like, I'm very sure that this is going to be a special winters for the native people of Ladakh.
That's wonderful to know. Venus, thank you for your update from Leh, Ladakh, and stay safe. And how long is it before the sun sets there now?
Uh, I think probably another 30, 40 minutes.
I
I
see.
can see that right now on the Leh Fort, the stupa that's right next to the Leh Fort has started to cast its shadow on the Leh Fort. Uh,
Hmm.
if you want, I can try to show it, and I can move the
Yes.
camera over there.
Yes,
I can
please. Yeah.
actually, I can
Hmm.
actually show you the ranges around. Just a minute.
Yes. 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 Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. Can you see the Leh Fort now?
Yes. 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 Very nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the Leh Fort, which was
Hmm.
made by one of the glorious rulers of Ladakh, who was called Sengye Namgyal. Um, so Sengye Namgyal was one of the most glorious rulers of the Namgyal dynasty. And the place where I am right now is not very far away from the Leh town, which actually used to be the polo ground of the Leh
Hmm.
Palace. And uh, I can also show you a few more ranges. Uh, just right behind me is a old police station building, but at one point of time, it used to be the sarai, or the residential quarters of the Central Asian traders
Hmm.
who used to come from the mountain pass there,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so they used to walk down this place, and there you can see there is a Japanese peace stupa. I wonder if you
Hmm.
can see on the hilltop. That's
Barely. Yeah. One
yeah
second. Let
that's
me
that's
try
the Ja-
to expand it. Uh,
yeah, sure.
yeah, I see it now. I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Japanese peace stupa. So it overlooks the, not overlooks like there's a lot of distance, but right
Right, right.
opposite to it on the other side. So
Yes,
the sites where you can still see the sun, that's where
yes.
the Kardungala Pass is. That's the Karakoram range.
Mm,
That's the
mm.
Karakoram range.
And all this to try and control the Karakoram Pass that the Chinese have built, allegedly. I mean, that on what I would call questionable territory. They don't own that, neither does Pakistan own it. But somehow they managed to build a whole corridor, and they are trying to pass it off as their own. So, very, very interesting times ahead. And Venus, you stay safe, and thank you very much for giving us an update from Leh Ladakh. Namaskar.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Please do follow my stories on the epochtimes.com.
Yes, we will, and I'll be sure to give your Twitter handle as well as your byline stories. Thank you so much, Venus. Stay safe.
Thank you so much, Sree. Take care.
You too. Bye.